just sacrificed 32 minutes to an individual that doesn't give a damn about anybody's time but her.
Hold on to your hats, folks, as we dive into the wild west of Dalton, Illinois. Have you ever seen a political showdown so dramatic it could rival a reality TV train wreck? Get ready, because Mayor Tiffany Henyard's reign is anything but dull. The town is in for a season of scandal, power struggles, and tension-filled drama. On a typical Monday night, a village trustee meeting was set to transform into the epicenter of a political cyclone. Armed with their frustrations and a fair dose of annoyance, the citizens were ready to vent their rage at Mayor Henyard, setting the stage for a confrontation that would leave the town reeling.
We are awaiting Mayor Henyard to arrive. We will give another 5 minutes.
Mayor Tiffany Henyard delayed the meeting with no explanation.
The meeting began 30 minutes late over what seemed like a trivial matter, but that delay quickly became the spark that ignited a wave of simmering resentment. What started as a minor inconvenience escalated into palpable hostility. One neighbor seized the microphone and delivered a cutting remark that summed up the collective frustration. "We just sacrificed 32 minutes to an individual who doesn't give a damn about anybody's time other than hers." The comment hit with such force that even someone as reputedly unfazed as Mayor Tiffany Henyard would have found it hard to brush off. From that moment on, the floodgates opened. One by one, attendees approached the microphone, their voices trembling with anger and disappointment. They spoke not only of dissatisfaction, but also of a rising determination, their grievances coalescing around a single, unmistakable rallying cry: Clean House 2025. This was no longer just about venting frustrations, it was an ultimatum. Speaker after speaker conveyed the same sentiment, declaring, with unwavering conviction, that Henyard's time in office was nearing its end. The most powerful moments came from residents who demanded accountability, urging their neighbors to take action. One impassioned speaker drove the point home. "We must make sure we go to those polls and we vote right, because we cannot let her continue to be the mayor." The room crackled with intensity, a potent mix of pent-up frustration and searing rage. The air felt thick with a sense of impending reckoning. What had begun as a simple meeting became a manifestation of a community at its breaking point, declaring that the status quo could no longer stand.
Get back into being a mayor, and we already know she's not gonna win that supervisor seat.
However, Tiffany Henyard has never been one to shy away from conflict, and she certainly wasn't prepared to let the residents have the last word without a fight. When faced with their scathing accusations and blunt ultimatums, she responded with her trademark blend of defiance and unapologetic confidence, refusing to back down or show any signs of intimidation. "The disrespect you guys just showed at that microphone is unbelievable," she fired back, her voice cutting through the tension in the room like a blade. Her tone dripped with contempt, leaving no doubt that she felt no obligation to placate her critics. Henyard didn't stop there, asserting her authority with a biting declaration. "I have the seat now, whether you like it or not. I am your mayor." It was a statement designed not just to reaffirm her position but to provoke, making it clear she would not yield to public sentiment. Her boldness didn't end with that. Henyard audaciously compared herself to former President Donald Trump, drawing parallels between their leadership styles and the controversies that seemed to follow them both. She hinted at her own version of a landslide victory, framing herself as a misunderstood leader standing firm against unjust criticism, a polarizing figure whom she claimed history would ultimately vindicate. Her remarks were clearly designed to rile up her critics and galvanize her supporters, but for many in the room, it was the latest example of her disconnect from the very community she claimed to lead. While some might have seen her statements as a show of strength, others viewed them as yet another demonstration of her unwillingness to accept accountability and her tendency to double down in the face of controversy. In doing so, she further alienated those she was elected to serve.
Know this, I am gonna come through on a landslide just like Trump did. Know that I will be victorious.
"We are not your subjects, we are your bosses. We are the citizens of Dalton, and you will not continue to treat us in this manner." With this firm declaration, a resident boldly confronted Mayor Tiffany Henyard, embodying the collective frustration of a community determined to hold their leader accountable. Unmoved by Henyard's brash defiance, the residents displayed a resilience that underscored their refusal to be silenced. This was no typical disagreement. It was an explosive encounter, brimming with simmering tensions, laying bare the political struggles tearing through Dalton. As Henyard's taunts echoed through the room, an audience member, unfazed, countered with a declaration that resonated across the packed gathering. It captured the growing dissatisfaction toward a mayor many viewed as dismissive of her constituents. The bold rebuttal challenged Henyard's authority and displayed the grit of a town unwilling to submit to what they saw as arrogance and overreach. The crowd, electrified by the exchange, reinforced their position with cheers and applause, making it evident their patience had worn thin. This clash of wills between Henyard and the residents offered a vivid demonstration of the escalating battle for political control in Dalton, a struggle characterized by audacious speeches, unwavering determination, and an unrelenting desire for accountability. The atmosphere buzzed with urgency, reflecting a community on edge, illustrating that this wasn't just about political disagreements, but about the people of Dalton asserting their power as citizens in the face of leadership they no longer trusted. The raw emotion of the confrontation showcased the pulse of democracy in its most unfiltered form, proving that even in the smallest of towns, voices carry weight and can challenge the strongest of wills.
Without bias, at the conclusion of this investigation, I will provide an assessment of the findings and the recommendations.
The FBI's investigation into the village cast a long shadow over Mayor Tiffany Henyard, amplifying the controversies surrounding her administration. The public's dissatisfaction grew as inquiries into village spending raised serious concerns. Former Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot also launched an investigation into Henyard's financial operations, uncovering a significant deficit in the village's general fund. According to Lightfoot's report, by May 2024, the fund balance had plummeted from $5.61 million in 2022 to a deficit of $3.65 million. The investigation also revealed troubling issues with Henyard's use of the village credit card, including several purchases made without receipts. One particularly startling discovery involved a $43,000 expenditure on Amazon, made on January 5, 2023. These financial problems only fueled the calls for Henyard's removal from office. Concerns about her administration's management of village funds were compounded by the absence of two trustees, Christopher Gonzalez and Carmen Carlisle, who had served under Henyard when she was a township supervisor. They skipped a critical board meeting due to concerns about the lack of transparency around the agenda and the village's finances. Their absence made it impossible for the board to vote on selecting a new trustee, further deepening the governance crisis. The ongoing power struggle between Henyard and the trustees intensified when Henyard attempted to appoint a new police chief, Ronald Barrar, without board approval. A village spokesperson labeled the move illegal, adding another layer of complexity to the already complex situation. Gonzalez expressed concern, questioning why Henyard was so desperate to push through a meeting. He and Carlisle were cautious about giving Henyard unchecked power, especially in relation to financial decisions, fearing a return to the dubious spending practices of the past. The situation was further complicated by the controversial appointment of Lacey Burge as interim police chief. Burge had a legal history involving allegations of bankruptcy fraud, and the Illinois Law Enforcement Training and Standards Board ruled that he was not qualified to serve due to missing paperwork and a lack of recent requalification. The controversy surrounding his appointment only deepened, with Henyard's administration facing increasing legal scrutiny. Burge's appointment was temporarily allowed by a judge for 30 days, but several of Henyard's decisions were eventually overturned. Meanwhile, the landlord-tenant dispute between Henyard and Janetta Hull highlighted the mayor's personal instability. Hull disclosed that Henyard and her partner had not paid rent since August, accumulating thousands of dollars in late fees and back rent. In February, despite Henyard's lawyer refuting these claims, Hull asserted that Henyard and her partner had changed the locks and garage code to bar her from entering the property. The eviction case, which was still ongoing, underscored the personal and financial turmoil that surrounded the mayor. Even Henyard's public relations efforts faltered. Her annual turkey giveaway, intended as a goodwill gesture, was criticized as a transparent attempt to divert attention from the ongoing scandals. Some residents saw the timing of the event as a last-ditch effort to garner public support while deflecting from pressing township issues. The event's promotion through widespread posters only fueled the discontent, with some residents comparing the mayor's tactics to those of Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro, viewing it as political propaganda meant to manipulate public opinion. These mounting scandals, legal troubles, and financial crises painted a picture of a leadership struggling to maintain control and alienating the very community it was supposed to serve. Henyard's actions, both in office and in her personal affairs, seem to have only intensified the fractures within the town, leaving many residents questioning the viability of her leadership and calling for accountability at every turn. The overwhelming presence of Mayor Henyard and her control over the village's public image became increasingly evident. While her annual turkey giveaway was appreciated by many, it only highlighted the deep divisions within the community. Public relations stunts, designed to bolster her image, seemed to fall flat failing to sway the public's growing discontent. Henyard's political maneuvers reached new heights with giant billboards bearing her image, emblazoned with slogans like, "Keeping my promises, fighting for my residents." However, these efforts only deepened the perception of her as an autocratic leader. Reports surfaced of Henyard using police officers as personal bodyguards, blurring the lines between public service and personal protection. Allegations of using taxpayer funds for extravagant parties and luxury travel fueled the belief that she was more concerned with self-promotion than serving her constituents. The billboards, meant to reinforce her public image, instead symbolized her growing disconnection from the concerns of the people she governed. While residents weren't against her having a security detail, the use of public funds for personal enrichment and harsh tactics to quash dissent stirred widespread calls for accountability and change. The public's mistrust of Henyard's extravagant spending and perceived misuse of resources sparked outrage. The situation escalated further when Henyard called the police on workers removing banners featuring her image, titled "Super Mayor," further showcasing her increasingly authoritarian approach to leadership.
Township has this turkey giveaway, so it isn't anything new. Yet some trustees say that Supervisor Henyard, she is using...
The story of Tiffany Henyard is far from over. Her recently announced re-election bid, arising amid political turmoil, scandalous allegations, and mounting controversy, adds another layer to her already complex saga. Once celebrated as a groundbreaking figure in Dalton, hailed as the town's first female mayor and a symbol of change, Henyard now finds herself entrenched in a storm of scrutiny that has deeply divided the communities she vowed to lead. Her decision to seek another term comes as no surprise to those familiar with her defiant approach to leadership, but it has undoubtedly ignited fierce public debate. Many see her bid as a calculated attempt to rehabilitate her legacy and regain control over the narrative, framing herself as a resilient leader who rises above the noise of detractors. Yet for a growing faction of Dalton's residents, Henyard's campaign represents a critical turning point. It's a chance to confront the controversies and ethical breaches that have overshadowed her tenure, and decide whether the town will continue to follow a leader many feel has betrayed their trust. Allegations of corruption, mismanagement, and abuse of power have cast a long shadow over her time in office, leaving Dalton at a crossroads. The community now faces the choice between persevering through Henyard's vision, albeit one clouded in suspicion, or embracing a fresh start that prioritizes transparency and accountability. For Henyard, this re-election campaign is more than just a political battle. It's a test of endurance and resolve, an opportunity to prove her detractors wrong, and a bold attempt to cement her place in the town's history. However, to her critics, it represents unchecked ambition and audacity from a leader unwilling to acknowledge the weight of her own controversies. The stakes have never been higher, as the outcome of this election will not only determine Henyard's fate, but also set the future trajectory of Dalton itself. Supporters argue she is a visionary leader fighting against political sabotage, while her opponents see the re-election bid as a last-ditch effort to cling to power. The political drama in Dalton, Illinois, has reached a fever pitch, as Mayor Tiffany Henyard has announced her re-election bid amidst growing controversy, scandal, and mounting public dissatisfaction. Once celebrated as a groundbreaking figure, the town's first female mayor, and a symbol of change, Henyard now faces a storm of scrutiny that has deeply divided the community she vowed to serve. Her decision to seek another term is no surprise to those familiar with her defiant, sometimes polarizing approach to leadership, but it has undeniably ignited a fierce public debate. For many in Dalton, Henyard's re-election bid represents a calculated effort to rehabilitate her tarnished legacy and regain control over the narrative. She frames herself as a resilient leader, someone who rises above the criticism and noise of detractors. However, for an increasingly vocal faction of the community, Henyard's campaign is seen as a critical turning point. It is a chance to confront the controversies and ethical breaches that have overshadowed her time in office, and to decide whether they will continue to follow a leader who many feel has betrayed their trust. Allegations of corruption, mismanagement, and abuse of power have cast a long shadow over Henyard's tenure. These controversies have left Dalton at a crossroads. On one side, the option to continue with Henyard's vision, albeit one shrouded in suspicion, and on the other, a fresh start, one that prioritizes transparency, accountability, and ethical leadership. The stakes of the re-election have never been higher, as the outcome will not only determine Henyard's future, but also shape the trajectory of the town for years to come. For Henyard, this re-election bid is more than just a political contest. It is a test of endurance and resolve, an opportunity to prove her critics wrong, in an attempt to solidify her place in the town's history. Yet for her critics, it represents unchecked ambition, a leader unwilling to acknowledge the weight of her own controversies and stubbornly clinging to power. The political atmosphere in Dalton is charged with tension, and the drama surrounding Henyard's campaign has captured statewide attention, turning what would normally be a small-town election into a broader conversation about leadership, ethics, and the responsibilities of public officials. Henyard's supporters argue that she is a visionary leader fighting against political sabotage and systemic obstacles, while her detractors view her re-election bid as a desperate attempt to hold on to power and dismiss the genuine grievances of a community wary of her governance. The people of Dalton are at a crossroads, and the election is a referendum on Henyard's leadership, one that will either affirm her authority or signal the end of her reign. As the election nears, one central question looms large. Will Henyard overcome the storm of scandal, reclaim her narrative, and secure a second term? Or will this election mark a decisive end to her tenure, signaling a new chapter for Dalton and its residents? The outcome of this election holds significance far beyond mere campaign promises or slogans. It symbolizes the broader challenges of leadership in the face of adversity, ambition unchecked by accountability, and the resilience of a community seeking justice. The drama surrounding Henyard's re-election bid reflects the difficult choices Dalton residents face as they consider the future of their town. Many believe that the ethical breaches and financial mismanagement that have plagued Henyard's administration cannot be ignored, while others see her as a determined leader fighting against a political system bent on sabotaging her efforts. Regardless of where one stands, it is clear that this election marks a defining moment in Dalton's history. The future of the town's political and social fabric hangs in the balance, and the ramifications of this election will likely leave an enduring impact for years to come. As the days draw closer to the pivotal showdown, the question of Henyard's leadership and the future of Dalton Castle becomes more urgent. With tensions running high and political divisions deepening, this election is not just about one leader. It is about the very principles of governance, accountability, and the will of the people. Whatever the outcome, it will shape Dalton's path forward, and the story of Tiffany Henyard, full of drama, division, and controversy, is far from over.